Hi, everybody. I hope whoever's watching this, I hope you're doing well. This is Monday, December 1st, 2025, the first Monday after Thanksgiving. This is not the video that I wanted to make, which is why I'm forcing myself to make it. The reason I didn't want to make it is not because I didn't do well during the holiday with my eating. It's because I wanted to come in much more prepared. I wanted to have some outlines. I didn't want to just be random. But unfortunately, I'm in so much pain and feeling so uncomfortable in my own skin because of the triggered autoimmune responses that I caused myself during the holiday that I don't think I can sit and concentrate right now to have outlines and make everything all pristine like most creators do. So this is just me winging it, and really I'm doing it selfishly for myself so that I can look back when I reach my goal, or at least get further along in my journey, and see what it was like, where I am, a reminder, because I know I'm not going to remember everything. And even if I remember that I didn't do so well, I'm not going to remember the details. And I just want to see physically, I want to be able to look back at my vlog and see, the bumps and the roller coasters and the wins. So I am not depressed. I am just in pain. I didn't make this video to complain to anybody, and I take full responsibility for everything. But I also want to be transparent, because I'm sure that there are people, I shouldn't say I'm sure, but it would be my guess that there are other people that maybe didn't do so well and not feeling so great about the holidays right now, especially if they're on a journey for weight loss and having to deal with social pressures and food pressures and financial pressures, and basically just what we deal with every day in life, but accelerated and magnified for the holidays. My goal was, for Thanksgiving, I made individual portions, not just so that I could stay on track, but so that I could travel with the food for my mother-in-law, send my son home with some when he comes by. As if you've watched my channel and you've watched my videos, especially a couple of months ago when I talked about my son and his addiction. He's a drug addict, and he's pretty hardcore. And so when he comes home, which is never to stay, it's just every now and then just to see us, he'll be hungry. Food will be a luxury for him, unfortunately. He's in his 30s, his early 30s, and we have tried to do everything we can to help him. My husband is an addict in recovery, and it's just how it is. And when your son is an adult in their 30s, there's not a lot you can do legally. And believe me, we have tried legally and financially to get him the help that he needs. He just won't accept it. In any case, I made food for my son, for my mother-in-law, which we still have to bring to her, sitting in the freezer. I made it for the guys that I take care of, some of their favorites, and for a couple of neighbors that are older. And I didn't do well with the food. I started out doing really well with the food. And the week of Thanksgiving, the triggers were just, well, I allowed them to be too much, actually. It's not just the triggers, it's that I went along for the ride with the triggers. That's really what happened. Is there were many triggers around me with food, but I went back to my old thinking, my old behavior of, well, it's the week of Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is coming up. You're gonna screw up anyway, so why worry about staying on the rails now, since you've already dabbled a little. And then it worked into a panic. Not a panic that I was going to gain the weight back. A panic that, oh, once the holiday is over, I'm getting right back to doing everything the way I was, perfectly, without fail, without error. And this is my last chance to have my favorite things. And that was very much old behavior, old thinking. And boy, did I go with it. I mean, it was my first binge since starting a GLP-1. And it was a binge that lasted 5 days. I wrote in my post, just shy of 2 weeks. And I think I mentioned about 2 weeks in some of the lives that I was just estimating. And the reason why I started there is because what I had done when I started making the food in the individual portions, I allowed myself to have one of those portions, one of those sides, the night that I made it. And each night I made a different side. And I still ate the way I normally ate, really pristine, no processed foods, no animal products, very clean eating, vegetables, beans, legumes, tofu, soy-free tofu, which is my preference. I have nothing against soy or soybeans. I just happen to like the soy-free tofu the best because there's no fat in that. And basically it's nothing but pure protein. And I was very health-minded, but I didn't want to make myself feel punished and restricted that I couldn't have something. I was making all this food. So I allowed myself one portion of one side with each dish that I made. And I made 6 dishes, but actually I only did it 4 because 2 of the sweet potatoes and the mashed potatoes I really didn't care about, and I didn't bother to have any. Anyway, I was doing well with that, and I stayed doing well with that. And then the Monday before Thanksgiving, which was on the Thursday, that's when I went off the rails. Now, we had an early Thanksgiving the Friday before Thanksgiving. We did that because my guys, I've been cooking for them or taking them to eat for Thanksgiving almost 30 years. And this was the first year I was actually being offered a break where one of my guys, I have 3 guys that I take care of, and they've been with me for almost 30 years now, and 29 to be exact. and they're all best friends and roommates, and they all have some intellectual disabilities and some physical disabilities. And one of the guys has a really huge family, which is extended family to me and Lou. I mean, our guys were at our wedding, um, and so were some of the family members. In any case, this year they asked to do Thanksgiving at the guy's house. They would bring all the food and the furniture and everything. Not that the guys didn't have furniture, but just extra seating and tables. They would do everything, and I wouldn't have to do a thing. They just wanted to know if it was okay to bring Thanksgiving to them this year because um, their uncle, my one guy who's the oldest, he is a bit frail now. I've known him since he was in his early 40s, and now he's in his early 70s. I've been with these guys more than half my life. I started with them when I was 26 years old, and I'm 54 now. Anyway, so this was my first year to get a break where I didn't have to come up with Thanksgiving for anyone. But there were some favorites that one of the guys really has, and like I said, I had my mother-in-law who's in her early 80s now, and my neighbor who's in her 80s, and my son who I was thinking about for food. I didn't know if he was going to show up for Thanksgiving or not, and he didn't. But I still have his food waiting in the freezer for him. So I cook the special things that everybody likes that I do, and I'm not the best cook, and I'm not really interested in learning to be the best cook, but there are a few things that I make that they enjoy very much and have requested. So that's why I prepared food, even though technically I probably really didn't need to. In any case, it was the Monday before Thanksgiving that it wasn't just food noise, it was that panic that I mentioned before. Like, I got to get it in now while I can. And my 4 days from that Monday to Thursday became consumed by food, what I wanted, where I had to go to get it. I mean, I was jonesing. This was old behavior that took no time to come back, which I'm not surprised. I already knew that was the case. That I am nowhere near where I need to be mentally, in terms of disordered eating and eating disorders, which I have, which I've been diagnosed with, which I've dealt with my whole adulthood and most of my childhood. I knew that I was not past this, because I struggle even on the GLP-1, and that's the truth. Other than the first 3 months where I had no appetite and food literally meant nothing to me, and I didn't think about it, and I could look at my favorite foods and it didn't trigger me, it just meant nothing. Other than the first 3 months of experiencing that powerful shift as a result of taking GLP-1 medication, after that, I was on more fragile territory. And once again, I was very much aware that this GLP-1 was not going to truly protect me. It was going to help more than any tool that I've ever had to use, that I've ever had available. But it was definitely not the magic bullet. And I get very upset when I hear about, well, taking a GLP-1 makes it easy, and the cheating. Because the fact of the matter is, with my own experience and the things that I deal with, I can fall back into old behavior at any moment, and I battle constantly, even on the GLP-1. It's a different type of battle. The strength of the battle is weakened. It's less frequent. But if I start to have a thought from something that triggers me and I decide to stay there instead of remembering to say stop and turn into a different direction and not stay within that trigger and let my mind start focusing in on the food and the dopamine hit and the old, get into the emotional aspect of it. Unless I turn it off right then and there, I end up on that path and I end up struggling, somewhat needlessly, because I can control it when I remember to and when I choose to. But sometimes I get lazy and I become mindless when it comes to the food and the triggers. And I want to relax and I want to just not worry about doing anything to help myself with the food. And I think one of the triggers was I had lost 9 pounds in less than 2 weeks, and started weighing myself again a lot. And those things contribute, because I've always also gotten where I'll start weighing myself, and then for whatever reason it seems to eventually trigger a binge. It's like a self-sabotage. And well, it is self-sabotage. It's not like self-sabotage, and it's not something that I intentionally do, although it's something that I'm becoming more and more aware of. In any case, I know that this is a long video. I really did do it mostly for me so that I could look back and remember this. But if my coming clean and being transparent helps somebody feel a little less bad about themselves, or at least a little less alone, I hope it does that. And I would like to say this. This may sound strange, but I don't feel bad about the weight that I gained. I gained 9 pounds, the same 9 pounds that I'd lost in less than 2 weeks. Okay? I lost 7 of those 9 pounds overnight, literally within just over a 24-hour period. I was doing nothing but going like a racehorse. Every hour for the first 15 hours, I had to run to the bathroom, and just fluid was just coming out of my body. And then at some point, it ended up being about every 1.5 to 2 hours, until around 3 o'clock this afternoon, December 1st, when I went for the last time out of urgency, And I got on the scale and I lost 7 pounds literally in less than it was just over 24 hours. I don't even think it hit 30 hours. So I still have 2 pounds to lose to get back to what I was prior to Thanksgiving. So in a way, I got off lucky. The weight gain is not what I find to be disturbing. I'm not depressed. I'm not hard on myself about the weight gain. And I understand that I have an eating disorder and that I have a lot to work through and a lot more change ahead of me that I have to make. The mind shift, the mindset, there are some things that have changed, but not everything and not enough. There is really a lot of work that I have to do. And I know this. And yes, I've been in therapy on and off for eating disorders and other things throughout my life. I don't discount therapy. I have not been successful in finding a therapist as an older adult that I feel is benefiting me. I had one at one time many, many, many years ago, and she was awesome. But we moved from New York to Florida, and I've tried different therapists, and it's just not, I just haven't found the right person. And at this point, with everything going on in my life, there's not a lot of time left, and I'm not doing the therapy right now. The therapy that I'm doing is for myself. It's not meeting a professional. And again, I don't discount that. I don't put it down. I think it's very valuable. It's just not something that I'm able to do at this time, nor do I want to. And I'm just being honest. The weight gain is the least of what bothered me. What bothers me is how quick I still snap into those old behaviors, those old habits, the old mindset. That's what's disturbing. That's what's scary to me. That's what I want to work on, what I have been trying to work on, although sometimes, again, I think I've just been coasting. This was a wake-up call. And even my binge, though I did it for 4 days, was not nearly as bad as anything I'd done prior to being on a GLP-1. But I was eating out of that panic that I wouldn't get to have my favorite foods again, which it's not even logical because obviously we're adults. If we really want something, we can go get it. And if we want to overeat, we could go do that. You don't need permission at this point in our lives. And it's just it just caused a domino effect with my autoimmune issues. I had the worst migraine from Thursday through last night, Sunday night. I still didn't feel quite right in my head this morning. I had not had to take blood pressure medication since I think it was June or July, and I had to take blood pressure medication twice, which is a reminder that the food that I ate, which was not actually just mine, it was the pizza that I went for and all the things prior to Thanksgiving, that food and the processed foods that had to be so high in sodium that I had to take blood pressure medication twice. I already mentioned how many times I was on the go, every hour to every hour and a half to every 2 hours, until I was just completely void. And I am left with my trigger finger is still stiff. I can feel it. I have movement in it. It's not like it was before I started the GLP-1s, but had I continued, I would have really been in severe trouble. My back is killing me. My I have had the worst pain in my hip for the last 2 or 3 days. I can't get comfortable during the night. I I was almost in tears a couple of times just trying to sit up out of bed because the pain was so bad. I took an ibuprofen 800, which I never take anything for pain. I haven't needed to. I got no relief from that 800. None. The pain just would not subside. It wouldn't even give me just a few moments, even an hour of relief. And I could have taken steroids because that's what I was on for the pain in the past, but that also creates appetite, and I did not want to make things worse. So I've just been living with the pain. Um, and that's what I've done, and this is where I am. My back, my hip, my legs, my head, and my blood pressure really affected by my eating habits. And even though I've gotten rid of probably every ounce of excess fluid in me,